So if the flat Earth is correct, this is my number one question really, because from when I first started considering this whole subject area, this is the one that has really bugged me. Where does it leave us regarding zodiacal ages and the phenomenon of precession of the equinoxes? Because this is all based around what we're told is a slight wobble of the Earth on its axis over vast periods of time. The Sun at the vernal equinox is seen to rise against a different zodiacal constellation. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept. And precession is encoded in many ancient monuments and writings from civilizations all over the ancient world. It seems to me that if the flat Earth is correct, then precession and, these zodiacal constellations have to be thrown out.
No, not at all. The perspective needs to change, that's all. The heliocentric model is erroneous, pure and simple. The sun's not the center. Helios, the father. It's Gea, the mother. It's geocentric. And so these boy god worshipping patriarchal misogynistic Jehovah boy god that the monotheists aberration teach has usurped the true teaching of the Isis and Radharani and Mary, the mother goddess, geocentric true cosmology. You see, we are centered in the earth. The earth is the center. Earth is an anagram for heart. Heart, earth, ether, all the same word. And so the heart is the core. Core is heart, not the sun. And that tells you earth, heart, core, middle. Therefore it's geocentric. And in order to be geocentric, one would revert to the understanding of the matriarchal nature of the universe, and to balance the two rather than be unbalanced in this patriarchal heliocentric system. Okay, and so, and what was the question again? Just remind me, because I haven't got to that yet.
Yeah, so are you saying that precession is still possible because it's the stars and the constellations that are moving and not us?
Okay, so the dome, vault, firmament, starry sidereal heaven, which is the 8th sphere above our head, which is the octave. The 7 luminaries are below this vault of the heavens, which is the zodiac and the stars. And these two systems, the sun on the ecliptic with its planets, so-called planets, the wandering stars, they move in circles contrary to the 8th sphere, which is the sidereal system. So below is the tropical system, the sun on the ecliptic as it goes through Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, the Aries spring equinox, the Cancer summer solstice, the autumnal Libran 23rd of September autumnal equinox, and the Capricorn 21st of December solstice. These are below the sidereal zodiac. And so this roof, this chandelier, according to the Vedic scriptures, the chandelier that God made above our heads, the starry vault, it turns 360 times every year, perfectly. And the sun, on the other hand, it needs 365 and a quarter revolutions. So there is a differential. There is a contrary motion. There is something that perplexes man in this. This differential has always disturbed man, modern man. And so this is the cause of the influences of the two systems, the tropical and the sidereal system. And so what appears to happen is a slippage with this differential, and it's called precession of the equinox. And so the sun appears to wander through the ecliptic, through the zodiac, 30 degrees every 2,000 years backward. It precesses. And so this can be explained by the differential of these 2 years, the 360 and the 365 and a quarter. And it's so simple. We don't need a globe and a wobble, a hocus-pocus wobble on an axis, you know, hurtling through space to explain this. This is hocus-pocus. It's dodgy. It's so shonky. And it disturbs the intelligent ones. This is why there's a list of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of great men and women who have written great books and treatises on the flat Earth. All you have to do is Google how many people have written about the flat Earth, and you'll see the list goes on and on and on and on. And yet, hocus pocus, you know, Einsteinian relativity and gravity, Newtonian gravity and Copernican globalism are taught in all of the institutions. And why don't people like Robotham and all these great writers who gave proof and about the flat Earth, and why do we not talk about Airy's failure in 1871 with his water-filled telescope proved conclusively that we do not move? What about Sagnac in 1913 with his light experiment, splitting a beam of light around a table to see whether the ether would slow down the light, or whether phony Einsteinian relativity would affect the light, and he proved that there is an ether and therefore we are not rotating. What about the Michelson and Morley experiment with the tunnel, the 6 mile water channel where they found no curvature? There's no curvature. There's absolutely no curvature. You can see Chicago ramping up to your eye horizon from Milwaukee, from the opposite state, 120 miles away. You can be sitting in Veneto, Italy, Geneva, Italy, and you can see the Isle of Elba 125 miles away, sitting above the ocean.
I was on a flight over Europe last week in a window seat, actually, and I saw no curvature. You know, I had a brilliant view of who knows how many hundreds of miles from about 37,000 feet up, and there was no curvature evident, I have to say.
It does not exist.
This will not surprise you.
Yeah, it's surprising that people just want, a curvature that they concoct in their own half-cocked, half-witted minds. You know, I had an argument with a friend that I've known for 20 years, and he was disgusted that because he's been up 45,000 miles in a plane and he's seen curvature. Well, I asked him, did you see that curvature at your eye level, 360 degrees around? Well, yes, I think I did. Well, then that is not curvature, because even if the Earth had a circumference of not 25,000 miles, 250,000 miles, add a few zeros, add 4 or 5, add 6, add 40 zeros, add as many zeros as you want, you would never, ever, ever see the horizon at your eye level in a jet at 45 or 39,000 or 10,000 miles high. You would see a slope, and not a slope, a curved parabolic curve, which means 8 inches by the distance squared. So 8 inches for the first mile, 32 for the next, 78 for the third mile. And so the Isle of Elba, that should be about 8 miles, 8,000 feet below your eye level, but you're sitting there in Geneva drinking coffee, and you can see it high up. It actually ramps up to your eye. Always, the horizon is always up to your eye. And isn't it interesting that you can be upside down, and yet your eye is always adjusted to a level horizon? That's because up is up, and down is down, and the horizon is flat and level, and up is up, and down is down. And to hell with relativism, because it's hocus pocus, phony shonky.
Just going back to what you were talking about a few minutes ago, where we were talking about the phenomenon of precession and how that's still possible. Presumably, if it's ourselves that aren't moving and the sun that is, this would account for the solstices and the equinoxes then, and the movements that we see on those occasions. I'm thinking specifically about the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, as we're told, where the sun effectively dies for 3 days, you know, where it dips below the horizon for the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of December, rises again on the 25th, which is the origins of the modern celebrations of Christmas, of course. That would all still be possible when you realise that it's the other bodies that are moving and not ourselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, the sun does 365 and a quarter circles every year in a tent-like, teepee-like formation, where the bottom of the teepee is the larger circle. That would be the Tropic of Capricorn. And the top of the teepee, which is a tighter and more compact, smaller circle, that would be the Tropic of Cancer. And in the middle is where the equinoxes happen. And so this is a vortex. It's clearly a vortex. The sun is vortexing in the sky. Helios is a helix, as in DNA helix. And so as it goes up to the Tropic of Cancer, it compresses. And souls are attracted and introduced into this solar system through this contraction. And then as it expands and it goes down the Christmas tree, teepee, to the Tropic of Capricorn, it expands. And the ancients always said that Cancer is the gateway of men and Capricorn is the gateway of gods, because etherealized and self-realized beings return to the heavens from that tropic, at the Tropic of Cancer, which is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. Saturn's the grim reaper. Saturn is the harvester. He has a scythe, a sickle in his hand, and so he reaps and has a harvest of souls. Whereas the moon rules in Cancer, and the moon is the ovaries and the womb of the solar system. She brings the souls in through from her sphere onto the earth, and the earth clothes us with this garment, this physical body, because of dust you are, and dust you shall return.
So no hemispheres, no equator, and no poles. So out goes any suggestion of magnetic north and south poles then, I guess. And we're taught that many birds and sea creatures use the poles to navigate themselves around. We're also told that in the remote past there have been cataclysmic magnetic pole shifts which have caused devastation to the Earth. So I guess all of that can't be possible within this model.
Yes, they can. The so-called pole shifts are not pole shifts. The sun appears to rise in the east and set in the west. Well, the Egyptians, Herodotus in particular, noted in his histories that the Egyptians kept records that every 12,000 years the sun changes its rotation. And this is not a pole shift. You see, now they say, oh, the ball has flipped, so now the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. Well, Herodotus said the Egyptians tell us, they teach, that the sun stops in the sky and it returns and it goes back the other way for 12,000 years. And then it stops and it goes 12,000 years the other way. And this is what these idiot buffoons, secular materialist, Aristotelian idiots teach in their universities, because they are dunces and they want to create and generate dunces in our society so that we can be controlled and parasited by the demons which come from the lower planes below our planet, Earth. Because all of the cosmologies teach us, the Hebrews teach us, that there is a Sheol below our feet, and there is hellish subterranean planets. And they are controlling us because they want to harvest our energy, because we are godlike. And so, yes, it does work. Everything works. You just have to use the correct model. And that's what I'm here for. I'm happy to do the work, and I will till I draw my last breath. Deflate, destroy, and debunk the hocus-pocus sciences. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, it's all down to redrawing the model, isn't it? Because if you look at the globe, the traditional globe Earth model that all school kids have in their classrooms, and most of us have them in our homes, you look at the way the countries are arranged, and we're told there's an equator, and the closer you get to the equator on the different continents, the hotter the countries get. And then as you move away from the equator, down in the southern hemisphere, going towards the South Pole, it starts to cool off again. So you just have to redraw the whole model, I guess, as to where all the landmass actually lies and where all the continents lie in relation to each other.
Yeah, look, we're going to have to get a lot of clever people together now, and work out how this Earth, the layout of the so-called continents and countries really are, because we don't have any true accurate maps. And this is indicated clearly by the very, very, very strange and unusual flight routes that are taken